So did you guys hear about Band Together Buffalo? This whole drama that's going on.
Well, I heard through your messages, but I haven't had time to research it. What's up with this band?
So basically, the same nonsense. Like basically, the promoter.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
The promoter and organizer of this, like, is also in the band that is in the lead right now, even though they did not get as many votes as
Sounds like
else.
a mark operation.
Dude,
Mad Dog.
I mean, what'd you hear about it?
Well, I've only heard about that because Sean from Zepplin is in the band Grizzly Run.
Okay.
And Grizzly Run was in that competition. That's the only reason I'm aware of it at all, is because Sean and some of the guys from Grizzly Run have been posting about how they think this competition is kind of bullshit, and how there's some stuff behind the scenes that's not really kosher.
Yeah, so I didn't even see those posts. I only saw the one girl's post that used to be in Folk Faces, that book stuff at Nietzsche's.
Mm-hmm.
But she went detailed into hey, here's what people are seeing, here's the concerns.
Is this an ongoing thing that's happening right now?
It's
right
now.
Yeah.
So how are they just doing the votes over the internet or anything? Like just playing videos and letting people vote on them?
They're smart about it. They
the actual performance. Somewhere?
These scams, they know what bands are. They would never get a hold of a band like One Way Terror. It doesn't matter. They just all they have to do is go on our Facebook or listen to one song, and I think they realize that we don't fuck with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, they go to these young fucking kids, which is why I was playing with it in the first place. They go to these young kids, and they get a hold of who new is playing locally, and then they fucking
trying to see
say,
if they can
hey,
get a draw.
pay this. And there were a lot of people go to those things. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, so that was the previous scam. This scam, they used it and gave it the COVID spin. Like, hey, all these bands, they're struggling. They're not getting the exposure they normally do. Gigs aren't paying the same way because there's no gigs to be played. And so that was it. And they got all these
everybody that's chomping to go.
Well, not only the bands, but all the venues, right? And so what they've been doing is having these bands play these venues and then streaming it and put it on YouTube, which is pretty cool, right? But literally the guy that you contact about marketing is the guy that's in the band that's quote unquote winning right now.
Who's the band?
What is the name of that band? Pharaoh.
Some band no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
I told you they go. It's not the seasonal bands that get onto this shit. Even someone like Sean.
Well, yeah. Well, so how did they get on it or whatever? They just.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know a handful of the bands that were in it, that are participating in it. It doesn't seem like the same. It doesn't seem like a scam outright. Like how Guerrilla Productions seemed like a scam outright with their whole Battle of the Bands competition, like the way they framed everything. This doesn't seem like that. To me, it feels, from what little I've seen, it feels more like it's a well-intentioned competition that just one of the organizers has more stake in than they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a good idea that's getting kind of muddled by that.
And that's always the guys with the good grift, right? That's the best grift you can do.
If someone cared about the scene, who's the kid who booked us for Louisido, who did the stamp shows, and now he's doing Rochester?
What, Greg?
Yeah, and people were questionable on him as far as he is one of the most down to earth for the fucking band's fucking promoter I've ever met in the city over my last 25 years of dealing with it. Ever. That these people, they don't give a fuck. They want to come in, take your money, get out. Who the fuck?
Wait, 25 years? Aren't you 33? So you've been doing this since you've been 8 years old?
I mean, the first show I played, I was 14. I was going to fucking show, but that's irrelevant, James. That's fucking irrelevant, James.
Really good math.
All right, so
yeah. So welcome to Doors of 7, Kitchen at 9. Today we have another special guest. Look at us, episode 18. We'll be doing big things. I'm wearing matching socks for the second time that we started this. And we have Joe here today.
You're paying attention to that shit?
I do. Because I got to look down at my feet all the time. So Joe, guitar virtuoso extraordinaire. He's probably in half the metal bands in Buffalo. Recording engineer. Guitar player for One Way Terror. How you doing?
Sick.
So I guess while we introduce them, we'll start on the topic of what is this is simple and normal, but just to get it out of the way, what? And I already know the answer, but what got you? What got you in? What got you into music in general, and then underground music?
School of Rock.
Yeah, cool. That's what I thought.
Like the television?
Is that the answer you
The
thought of?
movie, yeah, it was. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. You mentioned this to me before.
Yeah.
But, so, did you see it in a movie theater? Were you interested in music at all at that point? Like, did it find its way that you knew eventually it was going to subside into something bigger?
I was never really big into music at all. Like, really into it.
Uh-huh.
And I never had a desire to be a musician until I saw School of Rock. Because I was in, like, 7th grade. And Ange had, like, bought it on DVD or something like that.
Oh, okay,
Because
cool.
she started to get into, like, the whole, like, rock music kind of underground thing.
Yeah.
Before I did.
So it's not even like you were, like, even giving a fuck about, like, Blink-182 or anything back then at that young age.
I wasn't really following the scenes, no.
So what were you into that wasn't music? What were you into back then?
Bikes, cars. I wanted to be an auto mechanic since I was working on bikes and stuff like that.
That's interesting.
And then, like, football, like the shit that my friend group is into.
So how old were you when you seen that movie? You had to be what, like fucking 14?
I think it was 7th grade.
So like 11. Again,
I
with the
guess
good
it'd be like
math.
12. Be like, yeah, 11 or 12. Yeah.
Glad someone's got a math here.
Yeah,
Because I wasn't about to figure that out. No, it was like 7th grade, yeah.
Still a lot of time without fucking
And
like the number one thing in your life. Would you say the number one thing in your life is music?
Oh, yeah.
And see,
I
that's
mean-
that's interesting to me because like I didn't know your backstory like that, so I would have just assumed like you came out of the womb with a fucking guitar shred and some wicked
It
soul
honestly
or
shocked
something.
me a little bit right here too, and we've
Yeah.
talked about like sort of his intro and stuff and the bands that, but I guess I didn't put it into perspective that you were already.
So how do you go from like School of Rock to like just being crazy metal shredder?
Well, it was just like hearing like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and shit for the first time. Being like, this is fucking awesome.
Nice.
Like, I want to do this. I wanted to play drums. Instinctually. I remember wanting a drum kit, like, in 8th grade.
Right.
And it's like, with my parents and, like, living in the house that I did, like, there's no way that a drum kit's gonna end up there.
Yeah.
Like, that's way too loud.
Because you were in the suburbs and stuff too. Like
Yeah,
I
this
was,
is
right?
suburbs.
Yeah.
This is, you know, a very quiet Catholic family. Like, no, we're not giving this kid a fucking drum kit.
Shocker.
That-
The guitar
that's what-
player that wants to be a drummer.
You beat me to it because I was gonna say like after you started meeting drummers, you're like, God damn, I'm glad I didn't become one of these people.
Definitely first starting to play shows, like seeing how much gear the drummers, like me, like bitching about having to move like a half stack into a venue and like dealing with like weird like load-in scenarios where it's like, oh, it's a super sketchy stairwell, you gotta lug all your shit up. Like seeing that, I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not a fucking drummer now because that's
See, you're being
just
modest. Though. I
exponentially
mean,
more
we
stuff.
wrote a lot of One Way Terror songs for the album that still hasn't come out. We wrote a couple of those with literally me and him, with him on drums writing it. We recorded them and brought them to Bob and Dave and said, we don't have to record 6 songs. We can record fucking 12. Look at this shit. Like, it was so irresponsible. But we sat up and we wrote it that way. So you absolutely can hold your own. So at what point... Okay, so let's start. School of Rock... Then you start trying to discover those bands like Sabbath and Zepplin and stuff, which obviously came from that movie, right?
right. I literally, I have a memory of like making an actual list of like when Jack Black goes on a rant when he's like asking the kids like what music they're into, and the one kid's like Liza Minnelli, and he's like nah, and he's like Puff Daddy, and he's like wrong.
Yeah.
Like when he does that afterwards, he says like he's like, oh, like Led Zeppelin,
Motorhead,
like that,
yeah.
like I literally wrote down and
Just
like
taking notes and stuff. Like, all right,
and like
what's
he's
he gonna say?
handing out like the albums to the kids as like homework. Listen to these. I literally wrote down every band and every like record that he recommended to the kids in the movie, and I was like, I need to find this
What's funny,
because I love the soundtrack and I wanted to get more of that. So I was like, what are all the bands that were name dropped in this movie? I need to listen to all of them right now.
So if you were 12, I was probably 16. I remember my parents winning screening passes to go see it at the theater. And
Really?
the part that got me the most, and I was already into music like that, especially shock music. That first scene with his band, and he
No
jumps
Vacancy.
off this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
No Vacancy, dude. Like that, I remember as a kid. So for you, did that scene? Did you know it wasn't even the movie then? That scene had to be the catalyst, right?
Yeah,
It had to be.
yeah. I wanted to be in that band.
Yeah.
I literally.
And they were sort of killer, man.
No, like a couple of years later, and I was actually taking guitar lessons. One of my guitar teacher was like, "Oh, like if you ever want to, like learn a specific song, like bring in a CD with the song on it, and I'll ear it out and I'll teach it to you."
Right.
And one of the first things I brought him was that song that they're playing from the soundtrack, the fucking I forget what it's called. But No Vacancy is like the fake band.
Playing in my head, yeah.
Whatever that song was called, I brought that into him, and I was like, teach me how to play this, because that's like guitar hook. I was just like, that's the shit. I need to know how to do that.
And they're showing that song's playing, and they're showing flyers on the shit club wall that are promo to the cast and the producers and the fucking camera dudes and all that. So the whole vibe, that is so fucking interesting that got you into it. Because I guess that played a role in like me making sure that the classic standards now were going to be in my repertoire. But you sort of got into that, like watching that, and it's not even like a great scene. Jack Black drunkenly jumps off stage and falls into a bar stool.
It's a pretty great scene.
Like it's a great scene.
Chris is like, I've been replicating this scene my entire career.
Yeah, just jumping
I've done that for real. It's not that fun. It didn't look as good when I did it.
No, that's cool. Now, when did you start? Okay, so when did you decide you wanted to? That you knew, like, I'm going to play guitar. I want to take lessons, or obviously it was probably a family decision. But how did that come about?
It was like I wanted to play drums, but can't get a drum kit.
So your parents probably like, oh, we'll get you a guitar, no drums.
Well, but the other thing was like I was looking up like how much it costs to like get a drum kit, and I was like, drum kits are fucking expensive. And then I looked up like I was like, I can buy a guitar and an amp and a cable from Target for $100. Yes, that's what I'm asking for this Christmas, and that's literally what happened for that Christmas. I was like, I really want a guitar, and we bought like a starter guitar pack from fucking Target.
Well, Santa Claus is in the metal, so he heard your calls. He's like, I'm giving this kid a guitar.
What's really interesting is there was no other point in your life that you remember. Like, I remember 2-3 years, I swear to Christ, 2-3 years old in specific music that hit me and changed my way of thinking. And music's the only thing that calmed my anxiety. For you to have to go watch a Jack Black movie to get that and then be as what I consider as productive on the instrument and instruments that you play and your engineering as you are. It's crazy that it wasn't this lifelong built-in system. You ever think about that?
Well, I mean, there was like I was around music and stuff.
Because your parents were pretty hip when it came to arts, right? Like with the horror movie, the old school Universal horror movies.
Yeah, my dad was really into like classic horror films and like sci-fi and stuff like that from like the 50s and 60s and.
So basically, you're trying to say like the fact that he kind of got in it later than someone you or I did, and then just kind of ran with it, and
it's because of his immense talent and his precision on when he wants to do something. He's going to sit here and tell you he's not a drummer. That's totally fucking false.
You sat in for me once.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Without knowing the songs on drums or playing them. I mean,
they probably sounded a little better too, didn't they?
Oh, dang! Oh, ouch!
That was a fucked up. Now we could talk. That was a fucked up story. But
yeah.
But yeah. So,
were you there and just like passed out in the alley or something?
Oh no, James doesn't know.
No, I don't think
you never heard this story.
No, this is news to me.
That was
Do you want to tell him? Tell him, Joe.
Well, that was one of my favorite shows. Not.
I know. Can you explain that first?
I used favorite wrong. It was definitely a standout show because it was so unusual.
Yeah. Well,
all the circumstance that made it happen. So we were booked in Rochester at the warehouse.
Mm-hmm. No, Syracuse.
Syracuse. Sorry.
No.
Syracuse at the warehouse, which I was stoked on because they've been talking up the warehouse like this is gonna be sick, and it was sick. It was
it's literally a warehouse.
Awesome venue, like really cool bands we played with, really fun show. But we had been in Syracuse all day. Like we went down earlier in the day, and we were like hiking around on like beaches and stuff.
You guys were Sarah and Bob.
Yeah, Chimney
Bluffs.
Me and
okay,
Dave
so I don't know what's happening, but Bob gets injured.
No. But hold on. No, okay. Don't tell. Go ahead.
So we spend the entire like afternoon like hiking on these like beaches and stuff and fucking hiking. Like we're just like climbing up rocks and bullshit. You know, like we're hanging out these beaches
Chimney
and stuff.
Bluffs.
Yeah.
I got beers. So Jim and I drink a beer. Sarah has one beer.
But then like we're at the venue at the show and the first couple of bands are playing, and then like I wasn't there for this. I just heard about it, but maybe like Chris or someone came up to me and was just like, "Oh yeah, Sarah's like they had to take Sarah to the hospital."
Oh no!
You know what you were doing? You were stringing your guitar on that stage, behind the stage. You know where the vert ramps? Mm-hmm. That's what you were doing. And because I didn't know, I went outside and they were gone. But go ahead.
But apparently what happens is they were all just hanging out in the parking lot, and Sarah just fainted, like, out of nowhere.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
And, clocked her head on the concrete when she fell.
Yeah,
right?
we were standing in a circle.
I wasn't out there. You weren't out there. I was with you.
No,
inside.
Bear. It was me, Bear, Dave, and everybody else.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she just goes down like a tree in a forest, right? And I see her just go boom, face first into the pavement.
Oh shit.
And I guess this is thing with low blood pressure. People just will have these fainting spells, and that's exactly what happened. Because she wasn't drunk, she had one beer. It was just we were hiking all day, so maybe low blood sugar or something. But yeah, so she went down, face just gushing blood, cut up real bad, broken nose, concussion. She went down like a tree trunk. We all just watched it, and it took me a second, and I sobered up like that.
No shit.
Yeah, it was all right, we gotta get her in the car, get her in the hospital. Who can drive? Blah blah blah. And yeah, we were gone.
So Dave drove them to the hospital, and Chris is telling me this, and it's oh shit, we're not playing this show.
It was opening for Total Chaos, where
shit.
buddies of mine, they're a pretty known street punk band from the early 2000s. But
and so I was just okay, we're not playing this show. That's
Yeah,
it. Bob and Dave are both gone. I guess we're just hanging out, waiting to see what happens. Waiting to hear back about what the hospital says about Sarah.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking.
I was just what the fuck? I might be able to play. I don't know how bad it is.
No, we were just don't even you're not coming back. Just pretend you're not coming back.
Yeah, that's what we assumed.
But I think Dave called you from the hospital or something, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Dave was oh yeah, they're keeping Sarah's fine. They're keeping her there for to monitor her shit, and Bob's obviously going to stay there with her.
Yeah.
And somehow, for some reason, the idea was floated can just me, you, and Dave play this show without Bob?
With Joe playing drums, who we never played.
Because I had been writing stuff with Chris where I was just playing drums as rudimentary of knowledge of drums that I had.
But it's not
I
even
was just getting by with that.
I don't even think we were jamming our songs at all at that point, though.
We weren't jamming our stuff. We were just writing new stuff.
So this literally is first time shit.
But I was well, I'll play drums if you guys want to play the show. And Dave was all right, Bob's going to stay at the hospital. I can get back there in 20 minutes. And so we end up playing this show where I'm just I'm just going to drink a lot of beer.
And that's what we did.
And just play the set on drums.
As a three-piece.
And that's the exact same strategy I have every show, too.
And it's funny because actually, the very first show Bob ever played with One Way Terror was down in Pennsylvania, when the original drummer couldn't go down there, and he had just had a near-death experience where he was all fucked up, to the point where he might not even be able to go down there, and didn't have any time to learn the songs, and we just kind of winged it.
Is that the one where you guys were opening for bands that he's gonna fucking laugh his ass off when he hears who they were?
No, that was the first time down there.
They somehow, One Way Terror, they got themselves on a last minute. Okay,
that band got on.
Chris
Barnes.
Chris Barnes is crazy, right? Mm-hmm. So 6 Feet Under is on tour with Cattle Decapitation and a couple other bands, and Barnes goes nuts.
Oh my god, that fucking show!
Yeah, I know you know. I know you would know more about the Barnes thing.
Yeah,
so you know how crazy he is. Well, they canceled.
And we were playing down in Erie, Pennsylvania that night, and they're just all right, well, Cattle Decaps off the 6 Feet Under show. They're coming to play here, so...
They play with Cattle Decapitation in a little ship... Well, it's a great bar. It's the Beer Mug. Have you ever played at the Beer Mug in Erie, PA?
No.
And we just stood right outside the door, smoking bowls, 2 feet away, watching them fucking scream. And
was there a crowd there for Cattle Decap? Because they were pretty big at that point,
they were... We were out, like I said, we were outside the door just watching. They were in there fucking shit up in there, though. It was nuts.
They were blowing up at that point. That's why they were that's why Chris Barnes had a problem with them. Because they were outselling 6 Feet Under on merch. Because they were suddenly blowing up as the new hot band. And no one's cared about 6 Feet Under.
Which is funny because 6 Feet Under has always been the joke of death metal. 6 Feet Under has a name because Chris Barnes was in Cannibal Corpse originally. And he's from either West Seneca or he's from Western New York. I think it's even more city, closer to the city than Akron would be.
Akron is where Alex Webster and Jack Owen.
Right, those are where the main dudes from Corpse come from, right?
They were half of Corpse.
Well, half, yeah.
They were in the band with Darren Pfeiffer from Goldfinger. And Frank Lombardi.
Right, who was
they were doing Beyond Death.
And Frank Lombardi, is he still alive?
Yeah.
Because no, I'll tell you why.
As far as I know, yeah.
I seen the Beyond Death reunion, and at that point, I thought it was just hype, and you could tell that they actually had a name for. Yeah. There was a lot of death metal bands in this area. Malevolent Creation being one of them. Who was Malevolent big in Western New York? Was it sort of like the Tragic, like sort of like what are those bands like the Headstones, like? They played a fucking 200 people in Philly, but they played a fucking 3,000 people in Buffalo because it's right over the border.
I don't really know what their shit was like in Western New York.
Because like the Malevolent Creation had a name, but they're like that C-level death metal. Yeah, Corpse is the only one out of like 50 of them that fucking rose.
And I only know of Malevolent Creation because I know that Darren from CKY is a huge fan, and that's why CKY used to come play Buffalo all the time because they were friends with them dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, CKY, fuck. We talked about GG Allin. They actually put out a really cool cover of fucking Bite It You Stone.
I know, with Chad singing the song, because Chad, the guitar player, is a huge GG fan.
Alright, so where... Did you ever hit the CKY love and bands like that, or did it go from classic rock to the heavy shit? Back to the discussion about your...
If I had to directly trace the lineage of like what bands I was into at the time, it was like Zepplin and Sabbath were the hard hitters when I was first getting into that. That was dope. And then for some reason that went right to, I remember like in early high school I was really into Rammstein because Du Hast had become a hit. Yeah. You know, I think Anne showed me like pretty much everything that I like that started my trajectory.
That's interesting too. I didn't know that.
She showed me like a Rammstein video, and I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, I'm totally into this shit. You're like, "Yes, this is fucking what's up."
And then like Pantera, immediately after that, I remember actually hearing. I have a very specific memory of seeing a Cannibal Corpse music video at my friend Dustin's house when I was like maybe a sophomore in high school, and I remember not liking it. Because I was like, the instrumental stuff is awesome, but I don't understand the vocals. Which is what, like, literally everyone says about death metal when they hear death metal. They're like, I can't get past the vocals. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, get over it.
That's why I said you at 11 getting into music is a weird thing, because people who like that's everyone's complaint about death metal, hardcore. It's I can't stand the vocals. If you love it, you got a problem. Like, we have a problem loving that music. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Who else can wake up and listen to that shit?
Chris has 99 problems, but death metal vocals are not one.
I know, like, engineers, like, for 30, been working for 30 years designing shit for power plants. Love death metal. Love it.
Yeah, because it's probably their way to, like, get it. But, I mean, it's in
when you're
his
sitting there in front of your cab
it's
program,
in his blood.
It's
like, it's in his fucking... Like, his love for death metal is never... He's never going to grow out of that, I don't feel.
So I feel like Chris may have taken your blood or a DNA sample at some point to, like, know this information. This is getting weird.
This is great. I thought we're supposed to interview the motherfucker. I'm drunk. Let's interview him.
Okay.
Fuck
Whiskey
it.
Chris.
No one else is talking. Start talking, boys. The fuck? What's going on here?
You got this, Whiskey Chris. Ask us questions.
No,
I'm here learning things.
I'm into it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so Pantera. How do you make that? First of all, Sabbath and Zepplin. Literally just Sabbath and Zepplin at that point, or are you just using those two as the forefathers to what you?
Just because they were the biggest ones. Like the first CD I ever bought was I was in Target with my mom in like probably 7th or 8th grade at this point, and I got it was a Led Zeppelin early days and latter days. It was like the two eras of it was a double disc. Like early era Zeppelin.
From the 70s and from the 80s.
Pretty much, yeah. It was just divided up.
The 60s and 70s, Chris. Get your fucking Zeppelin.
No! A lot of 80s stuff on that fucking CD, isn't there?
Well, it's like early 70s, like late 60s, early 70s, and then late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
That's how it was divided up.
That's
that was like
thought,
one of the first CDs I
have. Dude, I don't think John Bonham seen the fucking 80s. He was dead in the 70s.
Was he? I thought he died in the 80s.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
James is wrong. This is why
I don't know, Chris. I'm just storing false information.
No, I to be honest with you, even I'm not going to pretend I have a date, so I'm not going to say that there is a date. It's all right, James. It's all right, bro.
All right.
I mean, he died in 1980, September 25th.
Oh, wow. Okay, I got to sort of give that to you a little bit.
So I'm just saying, like,
Chris.
there was some Page and
call
Plant,
it
like,
fair,
solo
dude.
material in the 80s if we want to get super technical, but I'm thinking the bulk of Zeppelin's hits were the 70s.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
They were. For some reason, I always like, because I'm a huge fan, like, Dire Maker and, what's the other
That's
big
probably
one?
my favorite Zeppelin song.
What is that? Was that with Bono? Because they still release shit without him.
No, I mean,
No.
pretty much, like...
They released one record without him with Jason,
Only
didn't they?
Coda.
Yeah, that's more recent, though, isn't it?
True, Coda.
No, Coda was 82.
Yeah, but they released that with Jason, with his son, with John's son.
They was like, oh shit, we blew through all this money. We thought we had a longer career. We need to think about a retirement plan album.
Actually, quite the opposite. They don't want to do this shit anymore. They're like, you know what? We're not even going to do it with fucking Jason. John's dead. Like, it's pointless. And dude, they're talking billions of dollars
Oh, yeah.
for like 10 shows. It's fucking crazy.
Was there
Yeah,
ever a
that's it.
Metallica phase?
I'm sure there was.
Yes and no. I wasn't ever super hard on Metallica.
Ah.
Like, I wasn't, like, super, like... Because you've met people who are, like...
Yeah, like...
They were like, Metallica is the greatest thing. And it's understandable for how big of an impact they had on music at the time. So I totally get Metallica
I'm
fandom.
straight in the middle between immense love and just a fan.
Yeah, I thought, like... So a lot of the music I was being exposed to wasn't really through, like, oh, I'm going to get this album and then discovering, like, different, like, eras of music and, like, different genres album by album. Mm-hmm. It was more like I knew friends that had LimeWire and CD burners.
I was hoping
That I was like, if I give this person a list of, like, shit that I heard was good, they'll download track by track the stuff and then give me a mix CD. Because a lot of the other music I was exposed to was Ange had mix CDs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I would just kind of steal from her room, and like here was and the mix CDs were like all over the fucking place. There was like
In Sync and the King.
Yeah, I was saying you're gonna have some... Well,
well, it wasn't like that because they were
That's
already
fucked
over.
up, man.
I had heard.
I don't even want to think about that.
I had heard plenty of NSYNC and Britney Spears when I was in like 6th grade, and Liz and Ange both lived there, and that's what they were into. I heard plenty of that through them.
Yeah.
But the metal stuff was like just Ange was into that, and it was like stealing mix CDs, and it's tons of random shit.
Yeah.
Fucking Zeppelin, Sabbath, Pink Floyd, and then like Breaking Benjamin, Green Day, like just anything that was like remotely a hit in like alternative rock in the 2000s, that would make it on there.
So
there's a ton of random shit like
Breaking Bad and Green Day. I've never heard you talk about either.
Breaking Bad.
I'm sure.
Chris is
Breaking
like, they're
Bad.
my top
Breaking
100.
Benjamin. No, I hate that. I hate that band. Who the fuck did they open for? I knew I hated them before I even knew what their name was. They
Jesse
opened for
and the
somebody at
Cookers?
Showplace. It was Showplace Theater. What? No, it was at Showplace Theater. They opened
3
for
weeks from
some.
now, you'll get that joke.
But so did you ever have phases with, like, I had a Good Charlotte phase. I had a fucking I did. Dude, what are you talking about? I was fucking 14 when that band fucking came out.
Judging by
I
that
seen
vest, you still have a good Charlotte face.
What, with my kiss pins, you cock fuck? Listen, what are you repping right now?
The dirty heads.
Yeah, no, listen. You are repping New Fame, and you fucking know it. Alright? I'm representing music.
He's actually technically representing the east side of Burt.
Don't even know what that is. Nobody watching knows what that is, except maybe Dave and Jake.
That's a good
Alright,
thing,
maybe our
too.
2 fans know, but that's because they live in Newfane. Or close to Newfane.
How does your good Charlotte vest have anything to do with me living in Newfane?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we not allowed to get into bands that are subpar when we're 13? Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, the anthem was a good song, for sure.
Oh, was it?
It was. I said it was.
Yeah, I thought you didn't. I thought.
Chris was sitting there just getting home from school, waiting for TRL to come out. He's like, this
Good
album's
Charlotte,
coming on.
except that the dude has spiky hair. That's the only thing I know about that band.
Well, I realized Good Charlotte were posers right from the jump because when you watch that video when they got all over MTV, like with Casualty T-shirts and this and then they're chilling with Kelly Osbourne and the music just does not add up. Because I had already started diving into punk music, so good. But Good Charlotte had melody and hooks that the punk music I was getting
And
into
Chris
did
is
not
really
have.
into bands that have a look.
Yeah.
So that's where the Good Charlotte.
No, you know what? Actually, no. I'm in a band.
Says the guy who loves Billy Corgan.
I know.
What's the look for that though?
Zombie.
Oh, Jesus
Zombie.
Christ.
Yeah. Alien.
Yeah, like depressed,
like
fucking makeup. Like
doesn't
not
go
like
out of-
cool makeup like Kiss and Alice Cooper, like fucking women's eyeliner, dude. Like straight up. Listen.
Let's be fair, it's just eyeliner.
Okay, whatever.
Not only
Okay,
that,
fine.
There's no need to change.
Yeah.
That is the best line of the whole day. Joe, this is why I love Joe. He calls me out. He's like, dude, you're being fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Like, it's eyeliner. Doesn't
Billy
matter.
Corgan doesn't wear eyeliner in concert. Like he doesn't put makeup on to go do a show.
You're fucking higher than I am.
Looks
Billy, I've never seen video footage of Billy Corgan wearing eyeliner.
You haven't. If you have, I'd like to see it because I haven't seen it.
Dude, Bob, can you find me in
Maybe
30
working
seconds
on
so
it.
I can laugh a little bit? And I'm a Smashing Pumpkins fucking fan. You know this. Not like you in comparison. You're a diehard. I respect that. I don't understand how you can rag on any band
I'm not
when
ragging on.
CKY and Smashing Pumpkin are the fucking lines that you cross in your music listening of fucking...
Wait, where did I cross the line with CKY? I was just
I know.
I was just trying to like say that's where I heard of
not
Malevolent
crossing
Creation
lines.
from.
I'm saying... No, because
And
you
you know
always
what?
go...
Riff wise, like it's some pretty good shit.
What? Who?
CKY.
You know what? I honestly normally
Joe, as
found
a good
them
guitar
boring.
player, what do you think of CKY? Riffs?
I didn't have a CKY phase. I'm not
no, I
exposed
mean just
to
like
them.
riff wise.
Well, I'm not exposed to them enough to
Okay,
even have
so
a
you
judgment
don't-
on it. To
See,
be
that's
honest.
James. That's what's interesting about Joe. Like me and you would listen to shit that we knew we didn't like, just hoping that it would fucking resonate. I respect it,
Yeah,
but I don't get it. He didn't do that. Like it seems like he found shit that he fucking knew he liked, and then he expanded on that and what came out of that. I love that because I spent countless fucking years listening to shit.
We know. We talked about it for 4 months now.
I still listen to that shit.
So what part? Like when did you start your first band?
I'm pretty sure Billy Corgan has eyeliner.
I can
on.
see
In a,
it from a
in
far
a
away
music
fucking-
video, not in a live concert.
Who cares? Dude,
Oh, I
not only
will
What
say
that.
is this song?
This
Dude, the
isn't
new
even
shit
a good
sucks.
song.
There's one good song on the new record.
No, like the new album sucks.
No, what's that one song though?
The
Whoa,
look is tough.
What's
Yeah.
that song called?
Whoa.
No,
I need to walk away for
Yeah.
a second.
try another song. Try.
Second guess, he's already up and
What
out, and
the-
I didn't even
Dude,
promote
Billy
this.
Corgan.
That happened a couple days ago.
God, I gotta turn this back.
Yeah, this is awful.
This is
horrible.
This is ruining the vibe.
Dude, let's talk about like bands that used to be amazing that like start coming out with shit like this because they get old.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
terrible.
Bon Jovi and Goo Goo Dolls being the first two, and I know you guys are gonna rag on me from the jump.
For
No.
what? I agree with you that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. Although
Yeah.
Bon Jovi kind of
You know-
started out that way.
I remember, I think it was this past New Year's Eve, like watching Goo Goo Dolls, like on 2 or 3 different channels. They must have been making the rounds on the TV, and they
The
looked
TV.
on the TV. And
1960.
they were looking fucking rough. Like the plastic surgery doesn't look really that good, and oh my.
I just don't trust
And then, like-
anyone that still wears like different, like non-clear lens
And
glasses.
that like he just like no disrespect to the Goo Goo Dolls, but that just after all these years, it's kind of pissing me off too
What?
with the glasses.
Yeah.
Like I'm sick of seeing it.
The
like,
one dude wears the fucking goofy glasses that makes you look like Rosie O'Donnell, and the other dude wants to look like fucking Bon Jovi. I don't
Yeah,
fucking get it.
that's what I'm,
I did really love A Boy Named Goo. I still think if you guys ever get a second to listen, that's the one that
that's
long Way Down comes off of. And
no, that was
it's-
actually a good album.
It's such a good radio album, like with an edge, a little bit compared to what else. You know, I remember getting that and No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom at like the same day through BMG catalog.
Nice.
I got the cassettes in the same exact day.
10 for
Were
a
you
penny.
a No Doubt fan when they came out?
I like No Doubt. Yeah.
Mm.
Like I thought Gwen Stefani was hot. I liked the bass player had some. The drummer was really good. Like the guitar player was sweet.
Because there you go,
Like
right
the whole
there.
package, like was
we
pretty.
went to the Goo Goo Dolls Bush, No Doubt.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
For
The
like,
one
in like
where-
what, like 97, right?
It was
96.
96.
We only bought one, like.
We didn't even buy. No, we all had regular.
Oh, that's right. We didn't even buy general admission.
Somebody we knew had a general admission thing, and they had like the bracelets, but they were so long. We just cut the ends off and had some chewing gum, and made new bracelets and snuck like 30 people down the general admission floor.
You can do that shit back then. Where was
awesome.
Where was that?
That was at the
Odd. Yeah, I snuck onto Manson with a Bugs Life McDonald's watch because it was the same color green as those bands.
Let's find out about Joe starting some bands here.
I didn't play a show until I was like 17, and I had started the band Chicken Fist.
No, which is funny because Chicken Foot would come out, isn't that?
Chicken Foot came out later. I had Chicken
That
Fist before
later.
Chicken Foot came
Definitely was
out.
later. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's so funny.
I was pissed off when that band came out. I was like,
That's
it's
a
so
fucking amazing
so
name
close.
for a band.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chicken Fist was just like me making. This is why I got into engineering. Actually,
That's a
It was
great
like-
name, dude.
No, but like I had like, because like me and Rich would jam, but he was into totally different shit, so I would kind of jam to like stuff that he was into and do like Rammstein type stuff, and I wanted to write like metal stuff because at this point I was in like, I had gotten through Pantera into like Cannibal Corpse and shit, and I was like, oh, I want to write some like death metal, and so I would do that at home just by myself with a drum machine, and I like figured out how to record my guitar like in a really stupid rudimentary way, but I figured out how to make my own demos and how to program a drum machine to play to, so I would write all this music to that, and then MySpace was like skyrocketing at the time, so I made a MySpace for it, because I had a buddy that was like, oh, my brother's in a band, and his band made a MySpace, and they like blew up, and I was like, oh, this is what you do now, you make a MySpace for your band, so I just like had this total bullshit page of like just random shit, and then I put all these like demo tracks up of like just garbage that I was writing, that was like, everything was kind of a joke. Like, because I didn't care about the content in terms of, like, there were no lyrics to anything that I wrote. There was no vocalist. It was just, like, a guitar and a drum machine.
Right.
So just, like, title is whatever the fuck I want. Throw the demo up on the internet. Whatever. And then, like, the, couple people that I knew that I was like, oh, these people probably like death metal. Like, let's try to make a band. And it ended up weirdly becoming a band at some point.
Nice.
And, like, the guy who was doing vocals and the drummer were both like in their mid-20s. I'm 17. These guys were in their mid-20s. They were already like in bands, and they were like, for some reason, we're just like totally down to do this. And we started practicing with this band, and like our bass player John was like 26. Like, as a 17-year-old, I was like, these are like full-grown adults like that I'm playing this music with. Like, this is wild.
The similarities for origin stories are strikingly like similar.
It is, because
it's wild.
You used to jam when you were like 15, 16. You used to play drums for that one dude that lived in the
old people's home in Lockport, because he had
some mental issues. And he would just sit there and like spend 8 to 10 hours a day learning the wah solo to Alice in Chains songs.
So he was tone deaf, metal dude, paranoid schizophrenic. Also sponsored by Crate because he was so fucking good. What did you do to like build up your chops?
I mean, I had access to YouTube and saw like shredding guitar players doing sick shit that I was like, I want to know how to do that.
Yeah, that's your top 10 shred tips, like those videos. And
well,
stuff?
this is before YouTube was like really clickbaity garbage.
Yeah.
Like this is before the algorithm, when it was just like you'd click on a video and the only recommendations you'd get are things that had similar tags to that video. So you could go down a rabbit hole of like finding sick fucking guitar players, because all YouTube was doing at the time was going like, oh, you're watching this Paul Gilbert video? Here's a John Petrucci shred video, because they're also a shred guitar player. Like, no reason other than it's close to what you're watching now.
If that easy accessibility didn't exist, do you feel music that your path would have went the same way with music?
Probably a similar way, but I don't think it would have been as like optimized like fast track.
Because that's really interesting. Yeah. I don't know, man. I forget that you're a little bit younger than me, like by a couple of years, but it does say a lot by how fast the fucking internet came. Because when I was 11 years old, when I was 15 years old,
he's like,
I didn't have a cell phone. No, there wasn't. You weren't going. I was
up.
No, you weren't going.
I was trying
on,
to figure out a way not.
There
to
was
say
no way. Like the internet was already established. Like the internet was there when I was growing up, but it wasn't affordable to fucking people like my family until the fucking mid '90s. Like, internet was already a standard everyday use in every family, pretty much, right?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So
at that point in my life, yeah, because I started so late. You know, if I had started when I was like 7.
And let me clarify, I'm not gloating, I'm envious that I didn't have that accessibility. Like, I know you, and I know that you would have got there anyways, because I know you have.
Would it even
extreme
matter, though?
passion.
Because, I mean, Kiss is only like 3 or 4 chords anyway.
It has nothing to do with Kiss. It's my love for music and what it does to my fucking innards, dude. It has nothing to do with...
I know what Kiss does in my
set your stomach a little bit.
You watch videos on how to play Detroit Rock City, like, you're not going to get too much content out of it.
I learned it by ear, motherfucker. I didn't have to watch videos.
Wow, that is impressive.
It is.
Said no one.
Learn Detroit Rock City by ear by Saturday and play it.
I don't think I've ever heard this song.
Yeah, I'm sure you haven't. Any more fucking excuses? Maybe I'll learn a Spring... You know what?
Oh.
Learn a Kiss song. You could pick the Springsteen song I learned. You could pick the Kiss song you learn.
I like this.
I am going to pick The River because it's like an 11-minute song.
You can pick Santa Claus is coming to fucking town, dude. I don't care. I hate that guy either way. Santa, no Santa, holiday, regular day. I will fuck that song up and throw you under the table. You might be able to...
This I need to see.
I know. This got weird.
It's a Kiss for... What is it with you calling shit weird? This is how we treat each other every day of our lives.
And it's weird, he said.
You want to throw me under a table? That's weird.
No, I didn't even know I said that, to be honest with you. I didn't even know that was a part of the context at all.
Then Chris would be like, your beard is weird. You got a weird beard.
Start talking about rap now. Anyways, rap. Have you...
This is how it goes, man. I don't know tell you.
But most of the stuff that I'm into is more on like the kind of old school path, or like the more like kind of underground, like lo-fi stuff.
Aren't you a Shaggy fan? Are you a Shaggy fan?
Nostalgically, of course.
And you actually got to work. Did you work that?
That's
did you
fantastic.
work or go to the Shaggy show?
No, I worked the Shaggy show. Yeah.
Okay, and you feel the same way then that you feel what you just said now about Shaggy, like from a nostalgic point. So you actually like were stoked to do the show.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fucking awesome. Did you? So was there any like preconceived notions you had about doing sound for a rapper, especially one that you sort of like respected from a nostalgia point at least? Like, did it meet your expectations, and did it like completely make you say like, yeah, this is why I don't fucking fuck with rap to that extreme anymore?
It certainly didn't turn me off. I didn't really have any expectations. Like, it just felt like oh, that'll be fun, you know? Because the involvement that I have in that aspect is so little. When you get like a large touring band, I was impressed by how much like actual live instrumentalists Shaggy had on stage. Because you never know with a rap artist whether you're going to get like it's all track and just the rapper.
Well, you might know in advance from the contracts and what mics you need.
Well, obviously, yeah, we find out.
But
when we're sent the rider and we know what we're in for.
I know, but I mean,
information.
But you do definitely get how many like musicians you're actually going to have to mic, even if they're going into direct. You know how many are going to be present, right?
Yeah, so it was always kind of a toss up. It was nice to see because I mean, like I'm of course being an old school like I like metal and like actual like live bands. You know, so when that comes to doing a live rap show, you know, it's an easy day if it's just a guy shows up and he's like, here's my playback, and it's just me on stage. Yeah. Great. I've done rap shows like that. They're fine, you know, and they're an easy day. It's more work, but to me it's more fun when a guy shows up. Like, Genuine was like this. Even like Vanilla Ice had a live drummer with him.
Yeah.
But like, when like hip hop and R&B and rap artists come with like actual like bands behind them, that's always more fun to me. Obviously, because I still like doing live band stuff.
Yeah,
but like,
you see a lot more of that now too, because I feel like more rappers are doing.
I've been noticing that more and more at live shows.
You see it a lot in EDM too, especially. There's bands like Infected Mushroom who literally, he'll do his DJ sets where he flies to the places, and then they'll do the full band shows. And they sells out all the full band shows, and those are the ones he travels with his full band. I think it's extremely more prominent in non-instrument based live settings.
Yeah, I think it's for people that want to go to those EDM shows but don't want to continue to take drugs like they used to.
All right, EDM
would more enjoy that kind of show. That's why they're going to them.
Yeah, there's only so many times there's only so many things a screen or a 3D screen can do. Yes, they're gonna look cool at all times, and there's octopuses that shoot shit out of his shit. It gets old if there's not if there's one faceless dude that you can't even see what he looks like because there's so many lights going on that's standing behind a fucking DJ kit.
Not if you're on ketamine.
That's because you're so far into the ground that you can't see anything.
That's why it's nice to see that live band. Like when you sober up and you still enjoy that type of music.
Oh, it's great. And nothing like. Do you notice from the board when you're at the soundboard or the lighting board, like can you tell the difference in the actual music, even if the volumes seem to be the same between non-live bands and live bands? Follow me?
Yeah, I get what you're asking. I don't have a really good answer for it. Only because I'm rarely out in front. I don't mix front of house for these people.
Did every rap band that played with the band, or any rapper that played with the band, did he always use an underlying track? Always.
You'd be hard pressed to get any type of, I'll say, pop, hip hop, rap, any genre outside of like blues.
That's why I'm asking.
You'd be hard pressed to see a national act that's got big draw playing with 0 tracks.
Yeah, right.
There's always some tracks going on generally. Only because you're trying to replicate, like, music has changed so much in the industry because of digital audio production that album production is not based, obviously, if you listen to any pop song or rap song, it's not based on live music anymore. You know what I mean? It's based on sounds created by synthesizers, drum machines, digital stuff. That's the aesthetic. So if you're going to deliver that aesthetic live, you need to have tracks.
Right.
Or else it's going to sound nothing like the record. You know what I mean? So even if you have a full live band, like in the case of like someone like Genuine put on a great fucking show, had a whole live band behind them, but there were still tracks happening because an analog regular bass guitar doesn't go, yeah, 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 yeah. You don't get that from that, obviously. Like, that's exclusively a digital sound,
Thanks, Kanye.
So, like...
But
it's like, because of that aesthetic, there's usually always going to be tracks if anyone's trying to present as a live show something close to what their record is doing. So it makes total sense to have tracks to supplement things like that. It's more honestly like now it's like live bands are supplementing the energy of a live band to an already tracked performance.
Yeah.
The track is the meat and potatoes because that's the way it was produced. It's not an analog drum kit that you're hearing on the pop tracks that are hitting.
Right.
It's a drum machine.
It's being hit by using a...
Those sounds are going to come through the fucking PA because that's what people expect when they want to see, like, Lady Gaga. They don't want to hear an act like a John Bonham fucking drum kit happening behind that music. It's like, no, you're going to play the shit that's representative of what the artist is like on the radio. But then the live band supplements the energy of having a live band. And they add to it, but it's not like the bones. The bones are still the tracks.
I completely agree with you, but what's weird about that is when I seen Lady Gaga, when I seen Lil Wayne, the song sounded so much different with those bands that it almost didn't sound like the song. And you're saying...
How did you feel about Lil Wayne's 2-note guitar solo?
Well, no, it's fucking terrible. But those two shows, the songs all sounded fucking different than what they were supposed to be. Honestly, much more so than any band that I listen to that now, especially now in their later years, try to replicate that to an extreme. But I almost feel like it's the opposite of what you said, that they're not trying to replicate it as much as they are trying to make art out of it and have a live band for that different.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. I'm not saying they're trying to sound like the record. I'm saying if it sounds so divorced from the record, like if you played Bad Romance like you were a fucking cover
Yeah,
band.
Dylan used to do that.
You know.
Dylan used to go on stage and play fucking songs that Bob Dylan that like people like were halfway through the song until we realized what fucking song it is.
I saw him 2018 in Rochester. Sarah got me tickets for my birthday. Yeah, literally halfway, 3/4 of the song, and then you figure it out. He's like, "Holy shit, he's playing Nick, Battle for."
But it's a complete new version.
Yeah,
it's crazy without telling anybody.
I think that's for copyright reasons and for masters reasons, so he doesn't have to pay royalties to like
all that stuff. What's his name from Creedence Clearwater already disproved that theory because that's why he claimed that he wasn't playing those Creedence songs throughout the 80s and 90s. Fogarty. You can do fucking you can play that shit live. You just can't fucking make money off of it and record it. If you might have a problem if you say we're gonna go up there and play the entire record of like, Primus is doing that now with Rush. They're playing all Rush. They probably had to buy into that. We can go up there as One Way Terror and play fucking Rock and Roll by Motorhead till the fucking cows come home. They can't do anything. We start selling fucking copies of Too Broke to Care with that song on it, and that's where it becomes a problem.
We're licensed. We're good.
Yes.
Lummy got his money.
But just so you know, it would never matter in a playing thing. Now that's 100% fact, I think. I don't think it can be from that. Like, where they're worried about playing it. I think they're just trying to fucking do something for them because they're sick of playing fucking Knocking on Heaven's Door the same way for the past 40 fucking years. And Dylan, to his own admission, has done things to piss off crowds just for the art of it, like Andy Kaufman. Yep. And once I seen him get compared, Edward Norton on Joe Rogan compared him to Andy Kaufman. And that made me look at him in a different light and say, wow, maybe there is an art to him being such a fucking dickhead. The Black Crowes saying on Howard Stern, Black Crowes are playing a show with the Rolling Stones at a festival, and Bob Dylan's there, and he's going to come up and do one of his songs with the Stones. And the Stones go and they play the song, and they look at fucking Bob Dylan and they say, okay, like, here's, they start counting, they're like 4, 1, 2, like when we're learning songs, 1, 2, 3, and he looks like he leans into the mic, and Dylan leans out. Does it again. He's just fucking with everybody. Yeah. He does this for fucking literally the whole song. Then he goes in, he goes, all right, now I remember. And he goes in to sing, pulls back, flicks off the Stones, and walks away. That's badass, dude.
Yeah, Bob Dylan's like literally one of my biggest influences ever. And a lot of it's because he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I think
he didn't give a fuck.
I like that more than I actually like his music, to be honest with you.
You haven't gone deep then. Like, you don't even have to go deep.
I've listened to Dylan.
Did you listen to much Dylan?
No.
Any Dylan? So good. That documentary that Scorsese did, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. It came out like 2005, 2007. Check it out.
I heard that was good.
Dude, amazing. I learned stuff about Dylan, and I wrote a paper for like college English class in high school about Dylan. I kind of remember it because I was on acid, but I had to read a book and write a paper about him. And I learned shit from that movie because he goes on there and talks about how he just like, he got sick of it. He got sick of the people, the questions, just how fake everything was.
Yeah, so his way of dealing with that was fucking with people in so many different ways. And him showing up to play to fucking 1,800 people at a sold-out place and literally changing every song, I don't think had a thing to fucking do with any rights. I think he was trying to fucking get people to fucking literally get up and leave, and I love that.
Yeah. Oh, the last thing I'll say about Dylan is, because I've seen him a couple times, is I have never seen someone live that responds to crowd feedback so, like, positively. Like, the 2 times, like, we saw him in at Buff State or UB, and then I saw him in Rochester again, and the crowd was going nuts both times. Like, and he was going, he loved it. Like, he just goes that much harder. Like, he would feed off of that. And, like, that's something that I've always tried to carry with me, like, forever.
Feed off crowd energy?
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Like, they're giving it back to you, you give it back more back to them.
You might feel like this, too. Can you build crowd energy if it ain't there? I do it a lot. Can you do it? I've never seen you play a stale show.
Never tried.
No, you do. Because I never seen you play a stale show. Like, I don't feel you have to. You don't have to feed off the energy. I don't feel. Would you agree with that? Like, there could be no energy and you could make it.
I mean, every time I'm on stage, I like to pretend I'm the greatest guitar player that's ever lived, which I know is not real, but like for the moment, it's
do you
just like
plan to do that?
To feel like that is just like, yeah, I'm just staring at my guitar playing music, and I don't care if there's 5 people or 100 people. Like, I'm just gonna pretend I'm the shit the entire time.
But even if you didn't think
and
that,
I give that energy.
wouldn't that make you do it? Wouldn't you just do it anyways? Like when you get on a stage, like
Well, he does it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
no,
saying.
I know, but
Yeah,
do you
that's what I'm
actually think I could be in the shittiest mood ever. I could fucking be sick. I could have gout, and it changed the whole thing just fucking changes. Sometimes I don't even like it. It's like I don't think. I don't have to think. I rely solely on muscle memory.
And
Do
then
you
he just
feel
thinks
that way?
Ace Frehley, Miami, 1972, and he's there.
The kiss.
Couldn't be
Oh,
72.
yes.
First
I'm
album
looking
came
at
out
fucking
in
Peter
74.
Kiss on his fucking shirt. Peter Chris on his shirt.
Peter Kiss.
I'm
trying to say Chris. I fucked that one up.
I feel so stoked to be on stage anytime that I'm on stage
Yeah, me too.
that it's almost selfish. Like, I don't really care if anyone else is enjoying this.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I'm up here and my guitar is super loud right now.
And it's a spirit too.
I'm gonna own it just because it's fun as shit. Like,
Yeah.
playing live is fun as shit, whether it's one person in
And
front of
It's
you
like
or
that
100.
guy
Like,
when you're riding on the throughway and it's raining and there's a guy on his motorcycle and he pulls up next to you and you look because it's so loud and he just gives you like the, yeah, I'm on a motorcycle, motherfucker. You know how cool I am. Like, that's how Joe is. I look over at Joe when we're playing in the same band and I get that look from him. He's like, yeah, you know, like, you know. Like, I love that. Like, that, I mean, me, you, and Dave have always had that fucking, sort of that fucking spark when playing. I don't think any of us plan on it. I don't think, and then when we're together, you just sort of see, like, I've had people ask me, like, do you guys, like, fucking choreograph moves like wrestlers? I'm like, first of all, wrestlers don't choreograph moves. Second of all, I do not, under any circumstances, sit in a room with those two dudes and choreograph. I think it's based
Funny,
on their
because we
influence.
used to do that at One Way Terror practice before you two guys were in the band.
Well, you don't need to now.
There was a lot of back-to-back montages. And
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really like choreographed. Like we got to bring the dance teacher out here to choreograph. It's just the mood we
There
were
was
in.
no dance teacher. I agree.
You can tell what we're feeling it at practice, even last week. Especially if you get a couple beers in us. Like, with the first fucking, run through of 5 songs, we're all just sitting there playing. And an hour later, after a couple smoke breaks and fucking piss breaks and beer breaks, like, me and Joe are like, yeah, there's like nobody here, but like, there's 100 people here. We're like going nuts and bouncing off each other. I love that shit. I can do that all day.
Speaking of like crowd reaction and stuff, like you've toured over in Europe, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Cool.
Is it like?
This is why I wanted him on here. His answers just speak for themselves.
So I mean, you're playing metal over there, and they're pretty die hard about their metal. So you get a better reaction from like those crowds than you would say like a Buffalo crowd at Club Diablo or something.
Yeah, for sure.
With all the friends.
For sure. That was the most surprising part about doing that, because I've filled in... I'm sure you guys know about this at this point. Like, I filled in for this band, Hellcannon,
Yeah.
that did a European tour with a band from Brazil called Sodomizer.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, like, Sodomizer booked everything. They were on the same European label as Hellcannon. It was like, it wasn't even a label, it was like a distribution.
So they set everything up and brought Hellcannon on as support.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
they planned this European tour, and they were, I think it's Ketzer Records, is like a record distribution
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, because every country, region has their own distribution rights.
Sure.
Like, you sell those off.
It was some guy in Europe runs Ketzer Records.
Yeah, that's
And
why there's so many different record labels with the country at the end of it, right? Yeah.
So he was distributing Hellcannon stuff for Hellcannon, and also Sodomizer stuff for Sodomizer. And Sodomizer, I guess, found Hellcannon through that distribution common ground in Germany, and asked them if they wanted to come on and do a like co-headlining tour, essentially. That we were flipping every date, someone else would headline. We just were alternating.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just fell ass backwards into that because they didn't have a bass player for that. And they had initially planned on just using the bass player from Sodomizer, was going to learn all their songs and do 2 sets every night. But then I said I was down to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
And they pretty much told me, he was like, well, so they also had a fill-in drummer for that tour. This is getting way off topic. They had a fill-in.
That's what we do. That's if you ever watched our show, that's what we do.
Man.
So my buddy CW was filling in for them on drums for that tour because their drummer at the time, I don't even know if they had a permanent drummer at the time, or he just said he couldn't take a month off of work to go do this. But so my buddy CW was filling in on drums, so they were paying for CW to go on the tour with them. Like they were comping his plane tickets and shit. And so when they asked me about it, since they already had the contingency plan of having the guy from the other band play bass for them, they were like, well, we'd love to have you play bass for us on this, but we're already paying for one guy to be on tour with us, so if you want to go, you have to pay for your own plane tickets. So in my head, I was just like, well, I learned this band set, and I'm already really good friends with the drummer, and it's going to cost me like $1,200 total in like plane tickets.
Yeah, it's about the experience.
And I have just graduated from college at this point. And I remember months before this even started to happen, I was thinking about my post-graduation plans and when I was going back to Buffalo, because I was in college in White Plains, like New York City area. When I was thinking about moving back, I was like, well, before I like dive into any career thing that I want to try to do, I would love to go to Europe, just because I've never been outside the States besides Canada. And then it just kind of fell into my lap, like, hey, this band wants to go to Europe, and you could play bass for them. So, of course, I was like, sure, as long as I pay for my own shit. Basically, the long and short is, it was like, am I willing to pay $1,200 to spend a month in Europe? And the answer was like, obviously, yes.
No,
like, that's a pretty fucking good deal.
Playing music on stage, which you just described, it's your fun.
Right, and I get to play in a band.
Yeah.
For a month.
Yeah,
That's
like
amazing.
you're going to get your passport and you're just like, fuck yes, this is gonna rule.
How promoters, like, did you notice any differences with the promoters from the States? Did they seem more shadier? Were they more upfront? Did you get fucked on any of these things? As far as like guarantees or anything, was there actual contracts?
I don't remember a lot of contracts. I had very little to do with
Obviously,
the booking of it
you would,
and how everything went. I will say that like venues in Europe are a lot more generous in terms of like what's expected when a touring band plays through there, because I'm used to like literally nothing. Like you show up to a club and they're like, "Cool, your set's at 8:30. Fuck off."
Yeah.
Like you get nothing
you
else.
End up spending $50 to be there.
Exactly. Yeah, but like
there it is.
every single venue we did in Europe was like, oh, it's like maybe not every single one, but like a lot of the venues were like, well, yeah, we're gonna feed you for free because you're playing, which was like weird to me. The first venue we played, we had like a sit down dinner. Like there was like a legit restaurant upstairs. We had like a sit down dinner in Germany. Like it was like legit shit. And I was just like, this is just like what you guys do.
Yeah.
You guys just do this for any fucking skid that comes through in a fucking band. Like we're playing thrash metal. Like this
They
isn't
take
like
their music seriously. Those fucking.
But yeah, they give it like every venue like gives you beer, like and a lot of beer too. The fucking my favorite interaction was in the Czech Republic. We played a show, and the guy that was in one of the opening bands who like booked the whole show came back to us when we were in like the green room area, and was just like with 2 crates of like Czech Pilsners that were like that big. So it's like 9 Czech Pilsners per crate, 2 crates of them, and they're huge. And he plops it down and he's just like, I'm so sorry, like this is all the venue would let me give to you guys for this show. And I'm like, I lose my shit when people are like, have a free beer. Like one free beer. It's just like, sick, this is totally worth it. And this guy drops up 2 crates of Pilsners, just like, I'm so sorry, this is all they let me give you. Like, no, like we drank those and then we had like 3 more that we took on the train to us to the next gig. Because it was like an overnight, like long ass fucking train ride. It was something stupid, but we were drinking those same Pilsners. I was just like, it was so hilarious how generous they are and how like.
So local promoters, like there are some like promoters like that. Like he doesn't do a bunch of shows, but any show I've ever played for Kevin Zarbo, fucking takes care of the band like so good. Like pizza,
yeah, that's true.
Like just makes it super smooth, takes care of everything. Like any promoters locally that like kick ass like that you work with? Anybody?
Oh, I guess being in bands, you can't judge the quality of character of these promoters based on if they really step outside to do that extra. You can't, right? I mean, like, I want to, like, and yes, like I said earlier about, what's his name?
Greg.
About Greg Bird, who does. Yeah, I feel he's the most genuine promoter in the city. I do believe that. But I don't think anyone owes it to anyone for that shit in the way of, like...
Nobody owes it, but it's, like, awesome when they go that extra mile.
It's fucking amazing.
I always recognize that shit, like...
But then, you know what happens? That promoters usually losing money. Maybe not overseas. I don't know how they do it overseas. I don't know how that whole thing fucking works where they can hook bands up like that and fucking throw...
Yeah, I mean, it's part of their culture. I mean, like, they're just giving and feeding and having drinks. So, Joe, so you had this awesome experience, you know, touring with, you know, your buddies in Europe. Is there any standout moment?
Well, I think what we were talking about before the brutal cut.
Brutal cut!
The camera fatality. I think the coolest thing was the fact that it was like, you know, this is a band that I knew from the start of when the band was born, and like from my memory, they weren't like huge in Buffalo.
Right.
Like they were around in the local scene, but they weren't like a dominant band. But then like going to Europe with them, I remember playing shows where there were like people in the crowd like yelling for songs off the first record. And like one guy from Germany was telling us about how he like drove like 3 hours from the other side of Germany to the city we were playing in to go see us because he was so stoked on us. And like people like really knew the material, which was a response that we hadn't even gotten in Buffalo from like friends that knew the band. Yeah. Like it was just a really I'm blanking on what the word is, but it's a really
like humbling,
just odd experience, like surreal.
Yeah,
really surreal experience to have like a bunch of like random German dudes like screaming song titles at you from like shit that like you wrote in high school. That was just like, I didn't know people cared about this at all.
Do they seem to have a lot of U.S. bands that play there? Like, did you notice from the promotion and stuff from being there?
I don't honestly remember.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that whole experience in Europe that I was very drunk for.
Yeah.
Because they gave us all beer
we get all the beer
at every show.
The thing is, like, club music is so huge over there. The fact that you may have a band like that is kind of unique.
Yeah.
And that might be the draw over there.
It's kind of a similar thing to like if you've seen the Anvil documentary about how Anvil like was a band that never made it from Canada, but they went over and someone booked them in Europe for a show, and there were like tons of like rabid Anvil fans.
Yeah, but I feel you guys are playing to more people at your shows than Anvil was in that documentary. Like there was rabid fans out of the fucking 20 that were there in that documentary in each show.
I remember seeing videos from that tour where there were more fans at your shows.
Yeah. Right? But I get it, like they're diehard Anvil fans that actually went out and did that.
I'm just talking about like Anvil like had a legacy apparently that only existed there, really. You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that we got that kind of attention there, but I'm saying that there were people there that like cared about that record.
Right.
Way more so than I thought anyone ever did.
So if you fell into a windfall of some money and a little extra time, and you pack these assholes up and take them overseas, like, what city are you taking them to?
For sure. I mean, like, regardless of what the circumstances, I would really love to go back to Romania. Because the whole Romania experience was super fun. It was a 2-day festival there that we played the first day of, but we stayed there for like 3 days. Like we got there the day before, stayed there overnight, played the show the first day, and then went back to the festival the second day. Even though we weren't playing, we just had our flight out of there wasn't until like a day or two after. So I got to spend an extended amount of time there, and that was a really fucking cool experience.
Did you get to see any castles?
We saw. We didn't get to see any castles. We were right in the city center. Bucharest. So, no castles, but they had a. They still had like the whatever like giant fucking thing they built for like when they were a communist country. they built this massive fucking, like, I don't even know what to call it.
What shape is it?
It's like several city blocks of a fucking square. Fuck, there's an old video of like CW talking about it that I took on my phone of our hostel, at our hostel, of him talking about this like giant building they built, and it was like the only reason they didn't demolish it after they stopped being a communist country was because it was such like an engineering feat that they built this thing at all. That they were like, well, this is too cool to tear down.
We're just gonna keep it here and look at it.
So it's like a giant museum, because they're like, well, we still built this sweet fucking thing. We're not a communist country anymore, but this is awesome. So they kept it. But that's a really beautiful place. That's very random in terms of like how much of it is developed and how much of it isn't.
Right.
Because like it looks like a fucking sick, awesome like city to walk around in, and then you walk down a side street and there's still like bombed out buildings. And like cars that have been sitting on the street abandoned since the 70s.
Oh shit!
That it looks like concrete is growing into it, but it's because it's been sinking into the concrete during the hot summers for so many years that the concrete is actually like going up like into the wheels. It's fucking crazy.
But it's cool that an unknown, not even a relatively unknown band, an unknown band. It could be, it could have been One Way Terror. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, it's a band that just fucking was busting their ass locally and trying to do their thing. To go there and get the same respect as, like you said, Anvil or Wasp or any of these bands that really succeed over there is really fucking cool to see.
I'm not saying we got the same response as that. I'm saying we got
respect.
It was the similar idea
but
of not being a popular band and then having people know who you are.
But it is sort of the same respect, though. Like, I meant to use the word
Chris,
respect.
you might be able to be a rock star after all. All you gotta do is get a passport, save up some of that restaurant change, and book a little 2-week jaunt.
I'll go to Romania first.
I think One Way Terror would do good in Europe.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I know some great spots to get wings.
That's all Bob. That's Bob's
And
first thing. Not like, are we going to be safe? Like, are we going to have somewhere to stay?
If this happens, I'll come out of retirement and be the road manager, because you're going to probably need me to keep you alive, keep you and Dave out of jail, and...
Yeah, that's true.
I've stayed alive. I've spent a lot of time in Europe, and I've
yeah, because
you
were on the clock for work. That's why. They didn't have Rock and Roll Bob over in Europe for a couple weeks.
Rock and Roll Bob was over in Europe for 8 days.
Yeah, at the bar after his work day was over.
No, I was gone over there to hang out.
So it wasn't even on a work day or a work trip. He just...
Okay, with Dave, Chris, and Joe, and a bunch of fucking Europeans handing you a bunch of beer.
That's what I mean with these guys. Like Joe drinks way harder than I drink. Like, Chris talks way more than I talk.
Oh,
and Dave is way clumsier. So, like, it's going to be a fucking adventure.
That's what I'm saying. So I have to be your road manager for this shit, because I'm going to have to fucking coordinate you motherfuckers, because I'm the only sober one. Although, like...
True.
Define sober.
I'll be smoking pot. I don't drink.
I don't get drunk all the time.
In Europe, you will.
Yeah. That's for sure. I will.
Chris, your peer pressure is so fucking, like, Bob breaks out the whiskey, you're on, like, your 7th glass.
No, dude. I was planning on drinking today. No, yeah. I asked him for it. We
Last night at 11. Sorry, guys, I had a rough night. I'm at work drinking. Like, people handing you beers, you're not going to be fucking wasted the entire time. And they're gonna know your name too while you're up on stage.
I'm in public and shit, I have a hard time of saying anything.
You're gonna be
yes, no. I just do it.
Like, you're gonna be a fucking wreck.
Yeah,
you're gonna need your own hand.
If I'm gonna go to Europe, it needs to be before I'm 40. No, I got fucking.
Why?
Because I want to enjoy it and party like.
Oh, because you don't want them 3-day hangover.
I don't.
When
Yeah,
you're 40
dude, you have no. I can't handle.
So you're gonna hit 40 and be lame.
I'm lame now. No, if I'm gonna go there, I want to experience all about Europe.
I'll say is you can really experience Europe even if you're 40.
No, I'm sure. Not with you guys, I can't. And by the time I'm 40, you're gonna be done with your partying phase because you ain't gonna have a choice. Your body's gonna say,
"Fuck
no."
My body's gonna shut down?
I didn't say.
Bob says he's just getting started.
I'm in for the long haul.
When does the long haul end? Do we know?
Long time for now.
That sounds like
shit.
a fucking Grateful Dead song lyric for some reason. All right, well, anyways, Joe, thanks for coming on and being our second guest. I hope we didn't bore you too much. And
No, thanks for having me. I hope any of the content that we filmed is usable.
It is.
Might be a very short episode.
As you can see, we just sit here and shout at each other and say stuff.
We
But
fight a little bit.
it's all good.
It's alright.
All right, so wrap it up. Kitchen closed. Oh, like and subscribe, motherfuckers. What are you doing? Comment on this shit. We can win free shit from us.
Yeah, free shit. Check the details. And the...
And
what's it called?
none of it is going to be Kiss merchandise either. Even
Like you guys
better
are
reason to
fucked
comment.
out of luck out of my end of the fucking
Dude,
shit.
ain't nobody
I
want no
think
Kiss
we should
merch.
pick the Kiss merchandise out of his collection.
Fuck no.
Wait, nobody wants Kiss merch.
Somebody probably does.
Yeah, okay.
No, Chris is going to subscribe and like his own shit and comment on it so he doesn't
Do you
have to get rid of
know
his...
how high that... Everyone's looking at me like, values time and time. Oh, an investment? This shit's going to be garbage. It went up 50% since COVID.
Kiss
Fucks.
shit
I don't
did?
even know what he's laughing at or what it was said. This is bullshit.
You know what, Chris? I'm going to comment on this episode because I want a chance to win the Kiss Grunge album. You were showing me last week.
Is that a thing? I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't want to know.
All
I
right,
don't care.
kitchen's closed.